Shalom, RasTafari. Greetings, this is Wendell Miadin. This is Ras Iodonis Tafari, the line of the Tribe of Judah Society. And we was asked a question at the end of the 25th RasTafari sabbatical study. Let's see if I still have it open right here on the screen. Let's go right here. So at the close of this RasTafari sabbatical study, you can see it not froze, but it stuck right here where you can see we was on the line with Brother Ayerson and Brother Dawit. Alright, and this is the particular broadcast from the RSS number 25. And so you can go and listen to the overdrive portion right there at the Blog Talk Radio. Alright, the Blog Talk Radio. Also, you can call in on the Saturday evenings after 10, as well as on coming up for Testify Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll have a time and an opportunity to go through the Seder for Pesach, for Passover coming up. Okay, so here we have the Tehillim, or the Tehillim, right, which is what the Psalm of David is called in the Hebrew, and referred to the Psalmster or the Psalter, right? And so here we go right here, and this is Psalm CXIX. C is for 100, X is 10, 1 is 1, X is 10, so this is 100, XIX would be 19, and you see it over here, Psalm 19. So I set it up like this so I can have hands free here, show you the book, and we can discuss the question, or answering the question that was asked, or the inquiry from Brother Wendell Dawit asked concerning the acronistic, what's called acrostic. Some say acrostic. I think was I saying acronistic? I think actually it's acrostic. Slicha, yikrita ne. It should be acrostic, right? The acrostic nature. Now, what do we mean by acrostic? Now, here we have the Hebrew, right? And it's somewhat from a distance. Let's see if we can zoom in and angle it like this right here. Okay. All right. All right. That's good right there. So you can see this a little bit clearer right here, right? A little bit clearer right here. This is Psalm 119. And if you look in your Bible, as we have the Schofield Study Bible right here, let's see if we can just gently angle this right here. Okay, so you can see this. All right. So you can see this right here, and you can see, okay, this right here, this is Psalm 119, right? And let's get the pointer right here, the yod, the pointer. Okay, so you can see this right here. You can see this is Psalm 119, right? And you can see it has Aleph, the subscription right here, Aleph, right? And there is the Hebrew, or the Masoretic. This is the square Hebrew, the Masoretic or Babylonian Hebrew letter, the glyph for Aleph, which is the first of the 22 letters of the Hebrew, Aleph to Tav, or Tau, Aleph to Tau, or Aleph to Tav, as it said in the modern Hebrew. So this is the first 8 verses. You see the first 8 verses here. Then as we go forward here, we go from verse 9, right, to verse 15. right? So we have 8 verses here, and then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? 7 verses. Then if you go over here to Gimel, so you have Beth or Bait. Let me bring this down right here, and let's see if you can see this up here. And you have Gimel, right? Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So between 7, it seems to alternate between 7 and 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It alternates, right? But you have sections that begin with one of the Hebrew in the order, right? In order with one of the Hebrew letters. Now, when you look at it in the English, you're seeing a translation here. It says, "Blessed are the undefiled in the way, who walk in the law of the Lord, of Jah, or of Yahweh. Blessed are they that keep his testimonies and that seek him with the whole heart. They also do no iniquity, they walk in his ways. Thou hast commanded us to keep thy precepts diligently. Oh, that my ways were directed to keep thy statutes. Then shall I not be ashamed, when I have respect to all thy commandments." Oh, by the way, we don't say unto because that means not to. Words sound power. Verse 7, "I will praise thee with uprightness of heart, when I shall have learnt thy righteous judgments. I will keep thy statutes. Oh, forsake me not utterly." All right. So this is the first 8 verses. So we have, this is a good example within the King James and the translation Bibles, but like the King James Bible, here we're using the Schofield, the first Schofield Study Bible that we utilize in the discipleship, so we can be on the same page. And this is a very good study Bible because it gives, like, if you look at this down here, it explains, right, the messianic nature, right, of this particular psalm, right, this particular psalm right here. Right, so we have the messianic psalms. Which psalms are messianic psalms? Actually, the subscription is for, I think it's for this, the end of this psalm right here, Psalm 118. All right, so now let's look at the Hebrew. Now, when we look at the Hebrew, we'll begin to get a better, let's move this out the way. We'll get a better understanding, so we can come to an overstanding, or really an understanding, so we can come to an overstanding. Well, let's get a basic understanding. You can't build something over until you have something under. All right. Okay. So let's get a basic understanding here. So here you see where it says Torah, the way of life. Right. Let's read this together. See if we can let there be some more light. Let's read this together. Okay, here it says, this is for Psalm 119, right? This acrostic psalm. I think we'll see it in here as we read through it. Let's read. It says, "An extraordinary declaration of the joy and help which Torah brings to those who conduct their life under its direction fills the longest of the Psalms." So Psalm 19 is one of the longest of the Psalms, right? Or it's actually the longest Psalm in the Bible, or in the Tehillim, the Mizmor, right? The Mizmor Dawit, the Psalms of David. It says it consists, although not all the Psalms are were composed by David, but they are according to the you can say the style and the direction of David, the sweet singer of Israel. Just to note that right there. Now, this psalm, it consists of 22 stanzas. That means like the verses, the blocks of verses. We showed you from the English where each 7 or 8 or 9 depends, begins off with one of the Hebrew letters. And this is Aleph for the beginning part. So this Psalm 119, it consists of 22 stanzas to correspond with the number of letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Each stanza comprises, they say, 8 verses, all beginning with the same letter in turn until the alphabet is completed. So this gives a good overview. Now they say 8 verses. We counted it. We'll count it again. It could be the translation, right? The translation might, be a little different. But from the Hebrew perspective, each stanza comprises or contains 8 verses. And all 8 verses, they begin with the same letter, the same Hebrew or Hebraic letter in turn until the alphabet, the 22 letters of the Hebrew alphabet, are completed. Now, it goes on to say that the author was acquainted with 19, 8 to 10 is certain, or Psalm 19, and we've been touching on Psalm 19, Psalm 19, verses 8 to 10. So what we're going to do right here is get Psalm 19, verses 8 to 10. Actually, it'll be verses 7 to 9 in your Bible. So you see, the numbering is a little bit different from the Hebrew to the King James in certain areas, especially in the Psalms. So just note that. So as you see right here, it says 19, that's the Psalm, X-I-X. It says 8 to 10. But if you look in the King James, if you look in the Hebrew, you'll find that it's 8 to 10. But if you look in the King James, it will be 7 to 9, which reads, the law or the Torah of Yod-Heh-Weh of Yahweh is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of Yahweh is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of Yahweh are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of Yahweh is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear or the reverence of Yahweh is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of Yahweh are true and righteous altogether. So this is an important link right here with Psalm 19 in the English Bibles and the King James, verses 7 to 9. If you're looking at the Hebrew, it'll be 8 to 10, right? So it's certain. And so they say that the author, the composer of this Psalm 119 was no doubt familiar with Psalm 19. So we have 119 and 19. And they say because he adopts the key words there used. There are key words that are used in Psalm 19, right? Verses 7 to 9 in the English translations. And taking them and others as his motif, weaves them into a verbal fugue. This is a rare word, not too familiar with it. But a verbal mix in that sense, right? It is an individual who draws so lavishly upon his resources of language to convey his love of the Torah. Now, the Torah in the English, we'll find that as the word law, right? In the Bible, in the translations from the Hebrew. So keep that in mind. When you're reading law in the English translations, in the majority of places, especially in the scriptures, it refers to the Torah. right, to the Torah. So this individual uses his resource of language, his understanding of language and the nuances to convey his love of the Torah and what a force or power, right, strength it is in his life. But he is the spokesman of many of his co-religionists or co-spiritualists, those who also regard the Torah as the way of life, right? Who would endorse his tribute. Now they say right here, this is the commentary, right? He probably lived in the 5th century and was an ardent disciple of the school of Ezra or Ezra the scribe. Also, Ezra is also known as in the apocryphal works as Esdras or Esdras, Esdras, like second Ezra or Esdras, right? Same individual, Ezra, because it was Ezra and Nehemiah who had returned from the Babylonian captivity to rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. And you can find that in the Bible, that part of our story and history, and our story in the books of Ezra and Nehemiah. All right, now, still, we want to touch on the acrostic nature. That was to give a kind of an overview. And I think a couple of verses here really explains it concerning the 22 stanzas or the 22 parts, and each of them, corresponding with the Hebrew alphabet, each of the stanzas. All right, and there's other acrostics. I think that's the proper word, acrostics, that are found within the scripture. Now, here's what I wanted to show right here. Let's bring this forward so we can touch on a sample or example right here. All right, so where are we right here? Okay, so, all right. Okay, so let's get this first verse. So you can see this in this first verse if you can. This is the letter Aleph, all right? This is the letter Aleph. Here, if you notice the difference between, if you have the King James Version, it would say blessed. In the King James Version, it says, blessed are the undefiled in the way who walk in the law of Yahweh. That's what it says right there, right? Here it says in the translation in the Hebrew, or directly from the Hebrew, it says, happy are they that are upright in the way, who walk in the law of Yahweh. All right. But now, as far as the acrostic nature, let's look at this right here. You would expect, therefore, if you read the English and you know a little bit of Hebrew, you might think it's the word Baruch or Baruch. You might think the word is Baruch. No, it's not. Here is Ashrei. Let's see this right here. Ashrei, Temime, Derek. Right? Temime, Derek. Ashrei. Right? And now it's interesting because if you look up the name, and even in the English, you can find the Asher. There's the tribe, Asher. One of the 12 tribes of Israel is known as the tribe of Asher. That's the connection with this right here, Ashrei. Now, the King James translated as blessed. Now, this will confuse some because they'll say blessed begins with B, right? Baruch. But here it begins with Ashrei. Ashrei, Temime, Derek, Hahol, halholkim be Torat Yahweh, or Yahweh, according to the pointings generally. That's another issue. But now notice this right here. If we go right here, this is the beginning of the first verse. You can see this is Aleph, Shin, Resh, and Yod. Aleph, Shin, right here, Resh, and Yod. If you go down here to verse 2, let me move this over so you can see this a little clearer. Go down here to verse 2. So we have Asherei, Tamime, Derek, Ha-Holakim, Be Torat Yahweh, or Yehovah. Then if we go right here, okay, my battery just went out there. That's why I think the power is getting low on this right here. Let's see if I can plug it in. I might have to wait for a part 2. Let's get a little bit of light right there. Okay. It's not but you can still see it basically. Let's just make this point right here so you can see that each of these verses, right? This is under the Aleph. Each of these verses begins. This is the beginning of the first verse. Asherei. Then you go right here. We have Ashirei again, right? Here we have Af or Ap, right? Af, right? Here we have Ata. Notice verse 4, right? And then here we have Achlai, right? Achlai. We have Achlai. Right, we have Achlai. So you can see each of the verses begin with Aleph. Aleph, 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 Aleph. Right? Then if we go right here, continue, right? Continue. Let's move this over. We have more Alephs. All right, let's do it like this. You have Aleph, 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 right? The A first. Now, when you go right here to the next section or stanza, wherewithal shall a young man keep his way pure by question. Wherewithal shall a young man keep his way pure? In other words, with what will a young man keep his way pure? Question. By taking heed thereto according to thy word. And this is under the bait or Beth, right? Now, you'll see this right here too. You'll see this is Beth, right? Right? Bama, Bama, Bema, Bama, right? Bama with what? Then we have right here, we have Bikal right there. Then we have what's this? Belibi, or Bilibe in my heart, right? And so you can see the same thing repeats itself. So just as this one here, you can see the Alephs here very clearly. The Alephs here, it's almost like a braiding. And then you can see the bait here. And we can go through each of the 22 stanzas still. Beth, 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 way, bait. And we have the Gimel. And the same process repeats itself here. Gimel, Gimel, Gimel. And so we go through all of the 22 letters within their respective stanza. All right. So that's just a kind of an overview right there. But this is a very, very important psalm right here. Right? It's a good teaching psalm. It's a good meditation psalm. And the theme of the psalm that gets lost in translation, the theme of the psalm is the Torah, right? The Torah, right? The way of life. So it's almost a teaching psalm too. So Aleph, one paragraph. So one can even focus on meditating and even memorizing. And it's a good exercise for children and those who are like a child and become as a child so that they may make it into the kingdom of heaven according to the word of the word, the Bein Ha-Elohim Shua HaMoshiach. Awo, brothers and sisters, hope this is helpful. Let me charge this battery up, and more to come. Yah willing, stay tuned. Awo, shalom.